Hello everyone, my name is Andrew and in today's session I am going to explain following topics in Java with examples. Type of variables by accessibility, methods and its types, methods overloading, strings and arrays, loops and more. Let's start with packages. Packages in Java are like folders in a file system, and classes there are like files in the folders. For example, both classes BankUp and BankUpRunner are like files in bank.up folder that is named as a package in Java. By syntax convention, package names are all lowercase and the words are separated there by a period. Also, please pay attention that package name indicates in the first line of a class above the class declaration right here and right there correspondingly. There are three types of variables by accessibility: static class variable, instance object variables, and local ones. Static variables are declared at the beginning of the program, preceded by the static keyword. Like the instance variables right here, the initialization of static variables is not mandatory, and their default value is 0. Static variables can be accessed by calling them with the class name. We can see it right here and there, where the static variable is called from another class without creating an object, just by indicating the class name first, dot name of the static variable, counter of accounts in this case. Instance variable. Instance variables are those which are declared inside the class but outside of any methods. Instance variables are visible for all methods in the class. Initialization of these variables is not mandatory and by default their value is 0 for numeric and null as for strings. Local variables. These are variables declared inside a particular method like this, or loops or constructor in which they are in. A local variable with the same variable name can be declared in multiple methods or block without any conflict, like these two ones, right here and there. A method is a block of code that contains a logic and only runs when it called. Method is used to perform certain actions and when the code should be repeated. Mandatory syntaxes for methods is following. Return type. Void in this case means that this method itself performs some actions and return nothing, although it can be returned int, double, string or any other data type. The name of the method. It should start with lowercase and every next word except first should start with capital letter. Inside the parentheses there is a parameter list. The list of parameters separated by a comma. It consists of the pair of data type and the local variable name. It means the method takes parameters. Also, method may not take any parameter at all. In this case, blank parentheses should be present, like here. This parameter list also means that when the method is called, it gets corresponding input like this. When the method is called, like this one. First parameter, string data type inside double quotes, long data type with letter L at the end and double data type correspondingly. Also, in numbers it is allowed to use underscore as separator for better visual understanding and readability of big numbers. Here we can see a method body. It contains all the actions to be performed. It is enclosed with the pair of curly braces. Right here we can see that when this method is called through the object named client first, it accepts predefined data type in parameter list here, and it transfer parameters to the local variable right here, and these local variables transfer the data to the instance variables named account holder, account number, account balance. And the magic is that every instance variable can hold as many values as many objects from it created afterwards. Right here, two objects were created for instance variable named account holder, for example, and it holds two different values for each object named first and second client respectively. Here we can see two methods with the same method name but with different parameter list. This is the method overloading. Two or more methods can have the same name inside the same class if they accept different arguments. This feature is known as method overloading. Method overloading is achieved by either changing the number of arguments or changing the data type of the arguments. So, with the first object we use parameter list with 3 arguments. Another time use the same method name with another parameter list with 2 arguments. It named overloading. Method overloading is a form of polymorphism in OOP. Polymorphism allows objects or methods to act in different ways according to the means in which they are used. Here we can see static variable counter of account that used here as counter of account opened. Here is another method named deposit, and this expression is just shortcut from the account balance equals account balance plus amount for deposit. Here is print statement that confirms execution of the method block of code that adds deposit to bank account balance corresponding object. Next method is designed to withdraw funds from object corresponding account balance. Of course, we use if statement right here first to check if the sum is available from the corresponding account balance. So, if account balance more or equals the amount for withdrawal, then this block of code inside the curly braces will be executed. If the condition becomes false, it missed that block of code and executes the block of code under keyword else. And in the last line of code method named withdraw, we can see another method calling from the same class. The method named displayBalance printing the instance variable named account balance according to the corresponding object. And inside another method it called in purpose of displaying the according balance. Display account method takes no parameter and inside the curly braces performs printing the corresponding information from the objects that would be created later from these 3 instances. Variables named account holder, account number, and account balance. And last method also take no parameters and it is static. Static methods rather belongs to the class than to objects. We can call static methods without creating an object of the class. Static variables and methods can be accessed from another class by using the class name they are from. Class BankUp, for example, and followed by a dot and the name of the method. Or static variable, for example, in another class of the program. There is a main method that means program execution starts from here. And in the line number 8, there is a calling of static method from another class by using class name dot display bank policy method name. We can also select method name and by holding Ctrl plus left mouse button click, we can highlight exactly the method where it came from. Next, we can see creating an object named client first from the BankUp class. And after it, just using the object name, we add to its methods from the corresponding class. Open account method accepts arguments right here. Display account method takes no argument right here. Deposit method takes one argument. And called two times withdraw method also take arguments. Here inside predefined Java print method we can see static variable counter of accounts that called by indicating class name dot static variable name. Just below we can see another one object named client second from class BankUp is created. Here we use different set of arguments that passed to the argument list, and the same method with different argument list is method overloading. Next we can see calling of display account method and method deposit with one argument in it. And finally, again inside predefined Java print method we can see static variable counter of accounts that called by indicating class name dot static variable name. Let's run the program by Ctrl plus Shift plus F10. And we can see the output of the program. Let's take a look at it line by line. First two lines of code came from the method display bank policy. Next, after passing the information in the method open account for object client first, it called display account method and print all variables values for the object client first. Then deposit method after some calculation inside. Then deposit method after some calculation inside print sum of deposit, and by calling method display balance also print corresponding value of the account balance. Then withdraw method. First time it checked condition inside if statement, and as it was true, it executed these two lines of code. And when withdraw method was called second time and the amount for withdraw was higher than account balance, and if condition become false, the else part was executed and it prints this line of code right here. Then display balance method called from inside withdraw method. Systemoutprintln method just prints the text and value of static variable named counter of accounts. This line of code creates the second object from BankUp class. Then arguments are setting inside the open account method and display account method for printing corresponding values of second object. Then deposit method again prints these two lines of code. And in the last line of code, the method systemout prints new value of static variable counter of accounts right here. In this lesson you can see 4 types of methods by taking parameters and return values. First type of method takes no parameter and returns no value. Keyword void means that it returns no value. It just prints the sum of instance variables a and b. Second type takes parameters but also returns no value, just prints the sum of arguments that will be passing to parameter list when the method will be called. Third type of method takes parameters and return value. Return data type always must be declared before the method name, integer in this example. And the fourth type of method, it takes no parameter but return value, also integer data type in this example. Here we can see main method as the start of any program, and let's run the program right here. So how does it work? In this line of code we can see creating an object from this class and using calculator reference variable we call method named print sum of variables that prints this line of code. Here we can see the method overloading when print sum of variables method can't take arguments into parameter list. And the method prints this line of code. Next method also take arguments into parameter list and also return value. For accept return value, we assign this method to the integer data type variable named returned sum that corresponding to the int data type in the method right here and there. And the fourth method example takes no argument but return int data type value that will be printed via systemout println method in the last line of the code right here. To continue, please take a look at some important predefined string methods. Strings in Java is like an array of characters since it has the same index system to provide access to every character this string consists of. In the line of code number 7, we can see initialization of string with white spaces before it. White spaces are like characters and it also counting under index system in string. It starts from 0 and the last index plus 1 is the length of the string, or length of a string minus 1 equals the last index of a string. Here we can see char add string method. It takes index number as an argument, number 2 in this case, and return character at this index of the string. Let's run the program. And here we can see that under index 2 in that string is capital letter T, since it has some white spaces before it. Here we can see equals method that compares two given strings. This method returns Boolean value, true or false. And as first string has white spaces before and after it, it does not equal string number 2, in spite of the fact these words are identical. and after comparing it and printing boolean variable is string equals, it return false. Now we use a length method applied to the first string and it prints the length of the word pencil as it consists of 10 characters in it. So last index is 9 plus 1 equals 10. Further, we can see trim method. It is very useful and it trims all white spaces from the both sides of a string. And here we can store trimmed first string. And when we compare first trimmed string and second one, its outcome now, of course, is true. String methods. Here we can see some another string methods. There is given string str with value "I will bike". Starts with method, returns true if the string starts with specified characters. For example, systemoutPrint method will str dot starts with and "I" as parameter will return true. Ends with will return true if the string ends with specified characters. So systemoutPrint method with parameter as str.ends with and bike as a parameter will return true. Index of method searches for the first occurrence of the character and, for example, capital letter W as an argument will return index 5 in this case. Since indexing starts with 0. Method contains it search the sequence of character in this string and return true or false. So bike as a parameter will return true, of course. Equals ignore case compare two strings and it is not case sensitive. Returns true or false. Replace method. It takes as a parameter old characters need to be replaced first. Then new characters that will be replaced old ones and it returns a new string. And finally to char array method. It used to convert string into a character array. Here is the syntax and it can be printed further, of course. Arrays are used to store multiple values in a single variable, instead of declaring separate variables for each value. Here we can see first way of creating single-dimensional array. First, indicated the data type of the array, integer int data type. Then, square brackets as indicator of one-dimensional array. Name of variable where this array will be stored. Array of numbers in this case. Then equals sign. Then inside the pair of curly braces there are three numbers in a comma separated list. There is an index system like in strings to get access to the elements of the array. Indexing system, like in strings, starts from 0. 7 equals index 0, 13 equals index 1, minus 4 equals index 2. And here, using index value, we can change the value of the element in this array. So, in this line of code, element under index 1 get new value of 130. Let's run the program. And we can see the result of printing value under index 1 of this array. It's 130 now. Further, we can apply length method to the array and get result as it contains free elements. For printing the whole array, we can apply arrays2string method and insert there as a parameter the name of the array. And the whole array will be printed right here. Here we can see second way of creating single-dimensional array in 2 steps. Data type of the array will be string in this time. Also square brackets as indicator of the one-dimensional array. Then variable name array of strings in this case. Equals keyword new and data type string again, and inside square brackets we need to indicate the size of the array. 3 elements in this time. And further, using name of the array and index number inside the square brackets, we assign the values for each corresponding index of the array. Then, using array2string method, we print the whole array values and result indicated right here. And finally, here there is a declaring of two-dimensional array using a row and column based index system. First, we need to indicate data type of the array int in this case, then pair of square brackets, that means it is two-dimensional array, then name of the array equals sign, and inside the pair of curly braces there are another arrays also inside their pairs of curly braces correspondingly. The index system for two-dimensional array works as following. Counting from the left side to the right each arrow as a row starting from index of 0. First array has index 0. Second one has index 1. And the third array has index 2. Then each element in array has its own index. So first element of first array in two-dimensional array has index 0 and 0. Second element has index 0 and 1. And so on. Here we can see the printing element under index 1 and 1. It means value of second element of the second array that has value of 5000. We can see it right here and there. And using the method arrays deep to string, we can print all the values of the two-dimensional array. If we want to repeat some statements multiple times, we need loops. There are 4 types of loops: for loop, enhanced for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Enhanced each for loop is the simplest and most useful type of loops, and used exclusively to loop through elements in an array. Here we have an array. Data type of array is string. Name of array is bytes. This array consists of 3 elements. For each enhanced loop, syntax is very simple. First, keyword for. Then, inside parentheses, it needs to declare a variable that is the same data type as for the array, string in this case, followed by a colon, which is then followed by the array name, bytes in this case. And that's all. It will iterate each element one by one this array consists of. And inside of the following pair of curly braces only need to indicate what should be done for each element of this array. In this case, just print each element. So only systemout println method is inside. that takes as argument the variable that declared right here as local variable, the same data type as the array. And here we can see how regular for loop works. The uniqueness of for loop compared to while and do while loop is that initialization, condition, and increment decrement can be done in one line. First, keyword for, then inside parentheses, local variable I is declared with initial value 1. It is the start point of the loop, then indicated a condition until what the loop should work. In this case, loop should work if local variable I less or equals to 3. So, in the first iteration of this loop, step number 1, local variable I got value 1. Step number 2, it checks the condition if I less than 3. It is true, and step number 3, code inside the curly braces will be executed right here. Just print value I equals 1 in this time. Then step number 4. I get increment by 1 and become 2. Then step number 2 in checks if I less or equals to 3. Step 3 prints value of I 2 in this time. Step 4 I become 3. Again step 2 condition is true, and in step number 3 value of I is printed. Then 3 become 4 in step number 4. And in step number 2 value of 4 makes condition as false, and the loop stops at this point. Here we can see examples of how do and do while loops work inside. In while loop, first step is declaring and assigning the value of variable I that outside of the loop. Then keyword while, and inside the parentheses there is a condition until what the loop should execute the iterations. It is a step number 2. Then inside the curly braces first is step number 3, then that performs some actions for each iteration. Print value of I in this case. Then it's step number 4, the value of I got increment by 1. And steps number 2, 3 and 4 will be repeat until condition in step number 2 become false, and then loop stops work and the program exit from the loop. Do while loop first do in execution, and only after that it checks for condition. So if condition is false from first step, do while loop make one iteration anyway. Here we can see array named bikes with 3 elements in it. Then enhanced each for loop for iteration over the array. Only 2 parameters it takes inside the parentheses. First, local variable, the same data type as array consists of. String in this case. Then colon and name of the array. Bikes in this case. And it will make iteration one by one on all elements the array consists of. And inside the following curly braces it indicates what need to do with each element of the array. Just printing values in this case. Let's run the program. Over here we can see that it's print all the elements of this array. And print statement that indicates the end of first loop. Further, I would like to explain using of keyword continue in loops. It makes the iteration indicates above this keyword be skipped. It is inside if statement in this case. So, if string named I inside if statement equals the value folding bike, it will be skipped in the for loop. And in result of the program right here, we can see folding bike is skipped from the array. And last word that used inside the loops named break. It used just to terminate loop when the condition above keyword break will be true. So when value folding bike will be met through loop iteration, it stops looping, and loop will be terminated including the value that need to be breaks. And here we can see that only first value of the array printed as the result of this loop. Here we can see the work of for, while and do while loops in examples. String array declared in this line of code right here. And intention of these loops just prints the values of the array. First example is a regular for loop. After keyword for inside parentheses, first is declaration and assign the value 0 to the local variable named I. It is exactly corresponding with the first value of the array under index number 0. That says work until I become as last index of the array, in this case number 2. And the last statement just increasing the value of I by 1 for each iteration. And the statements inside the parentheses should be separated by semicolon. Then we can see array name plus index number inside square brackets. And it is as a parameter inside systemoutprintln method makes all elements of array to be printed one by one. Here is example of while loop. First, initialization of instance variable named I with value corresponding first element of array under index 0. Then while as keyword for while loop. Next statement as a condition for iteration and for last index the array and as endpoint of the loop. And inside the curly braces just below we can see all that need to be performed for each iteration. First, print the value that corresponding given index of the array. And then just incrementation of I variable number. And that way it also prints all the elements of the array. And finally, do while loop. It has only one difference with regular for loop. Do while loop first execute the statement for each iteration first. And only then it checks the condition for it. And if in the second example of do while loop condition will be intentionally wrong, it still executes one iteration of the loop. Let's run the program. And we can see that all loops complete the iterations over the whole array. But last do while loop with wrong condition for iteration still do its work at least one time. It prints value under index 0 in this array. And at the end of this session, let me provide some examples of loops. First example, multiplication table with nested while loop. In first line of code under the main method, there is a declaration and assigning the value for outer while loop. So how does the whole system works? Very simple. First, we indicate the first table for multiplication as number 1 right here. Then we indicate the last number of table and as endpoint of the whole loop as number 10. Variable I is responsible to provide the numbers from 1 to 10 sequentially for the names of multiplication tables via this system own outprintln method. And it provides the value for each inner loop correspondingly to the number of multiplication table. And the main point is outer loop makes one iteration, and for every one iteration of outer loop, the inner loop makes 10 iterations by using also the value of variable I from outer loop. And when condition of inner loop become false, the program leave the inner loop, and after increasing the value of I, it transfers control to the outer loop. And variable I with value of 2 first check the condition, and while it's true, it make another outer iteration by providing printing message multiplication table number 2 and I searched in inner loop again as first value for the current multiplication table, and so on. Second example with for loop and nested if statements is right here. Let me show the program that create a user-defined array, then populate it by assigning value to it, and it search if specified number is present in it. Then program says that this element is present there at some corresponding index. If searched number is not present, the program says that this element not found there. So let's run the program first. It asks about what size of array it wants to be. Let's say the size of the array will be equals number 3. Then program create a next message about values in this array. Let's say it will be number 100, 200 and 300. Having accepted these numbers, it asks about the number that needs to be searched. Let's say the number 300 needs to be searched. And after running the program, it found this number at the corresponding index number 2. And it's correct, as 300 was placed on index number 2 as its first value places in the array. Let's repeat it with some size of array, with same size of array and the same values. But try to find value that is not there. 500 for example. And it says this element is not there. So, how exactly does it work? First of all, scanner object is created in line number 9. Then there is a declaring of int data type variables like I that will be used later as an index number of the array in for loop and print statements. Size of array, this variable will be hold user-defined size of array that will be get via object of the scanner. Searched element, this variable will also get a user-defined value of what number need to be searched in the array. And variable named flag initialized here with value of 0. It will be used further in nested if statement inside for loop. Then we can see print statement that asks the user about the size of the array. Next, scanner object gets int data type value from the user and transfer it to the variable named size of array. Then declaring an array with size of it getting from the variable size of array. Then the print statement that asks user to provide values for the elements of the array. And here is a for loop that iterates the array from index number 0 until the last index of the array, that always less by 1 than the size of the array, and incrementation value of I by 1. So this line of code will be executed 3 times for getting corresponding values for each index from 0 to 2. Then array is completed and the program asks about the element to be searched. Then getting user-defined value for it via scanner object and assigning it to the variable named searched element. Next there is a for loop with nested if statement and additional one. Main things here is that variable I cannot be declared as local just inside for loop, because if did so, then print method cannot reach it and the variable I declared as instance right here. So the for loop works as following. First, I get value corresponding with start index of an array. Then this expression means it iterates until last index of an array, with incrementation by 1 for each iteration. This if statement means that if value of any index in this array meets with value of element that need to be searched, then this method will be printed with value of the element plus index where it was found there in the loop. Also, this variable named flag get value of 1 if the element is found there. But if the value of element is out of the array, then variable flag remains with value of 0 and this line of code will be executed then. And final example with outer and inner loops is just printing a Christmas tree. Let's run it. Here we can see a Christmas tree. For better understanding on how it exactly works, I show you a grid method for this. First, please pause the video and copy these 7 lines of code to your IDE. Then, a left mouse click in front of first line of the program code. Change numbers of row from 25 to 3. Then, right mouse click and choose debug a class name that you choose. Christmas tree in my case. Then left mouse click on it. And in opened window, please choose console mode. Then by clicking on step over, it can be clear to everyone how this program exactly works, step by step. Please pay attention how to stop it if needed. Just by clicking on this red square. And when a program highlighted the line when it stands, it means it not execute yet and it needs to calculate the code output before going further. In this example, we can see that k becomes 2 and the whole expression turns to be false. It means all inside the curly braces will not be executed and program will jump in this line of code. And with visual understanding and seeing values of all variables at any steps of the code, it can be easy to see of how the whole system works. And doing this line by line, a small new Christmas tree is printing right now. And one more step for better understanding of this program. Delete white space right here. So, thanks for watching and Merry Christmas.